If you are a person who was raised by narcissistic parents or self-absorbed parents or parents who were, for one reason or another, just emotionally detached, you may not know how to be an empathic parent, but you want to be. You want to be a good parent. This is kind of where I bring in this book, which is Children of the Self-Absorbed. And what's interesting about Children of the Self-Absorbed is that it's talking to parents that are maybe not completely lost causes. These are like situations where, you know, people maybe even they want to be good parents, they just are self-absorbed, and maybe they learn to be self-absorbed by their parents. Helping people to not be so narcissistic, which is not a very common, there aren't very many books dedicated to that, because most assume, rightfully so, that narcissists are perfectly fine with how they are and they're not planning to change. There's probably not a big audience for books, probably not a huge readership to books for narcissists who want to change. But this book is one, actually, that actually at least has a section. What it is about Children of the Self-Absorbed, meaning that if you were raised by narcissists, you may have narcissistic tendencies yourself, and you may not want to have them, and so here's how to change it. And because you may not have ever learned, you may not have ever heard anyone who wasn't self-absorbed how to behave, how to act empathetically. There's like some quizzes in the back about, you know, what's the empathic response here? If there's like 5 questions, you know, if someone comes to you and they say this thing, and then there's these 5 responses. Which one is the empathic response? And I think it's kind of helpful. It's a unique perspective. But anyway, she tells a story about watching these 2 parents with this toddler child and little boy, and it was not a situation that really would have caused a bunch of alarm for anyone. Really, it was 2 parents eating. They're walking like down a boardwalk or something, eating. It sounded like popsicles, like they were on sticks, eating popsicles. And they had like their 2.5 or 3-year-old son with them, and they were giving him bites, and he was falling behind them, and they were talking and chit-chatting and kind of ignoring him. But he was whining and crying. He wanted to hold it. He wanted to hold one of his own. He didn't have his own, and he kept going like this with his little hands, going, you know, because he wanted to hold it. And they kept saying, no, you can't hold it. It's too cold for you. It's too big for you. You'll drop it. You'll make a mess, you know, whatever. But they kept giving him bites. And then they kind of ignore him. They go back to their conversation, and they would just laugh and talk and whatever. And presumably they were parents. I don't know if she knows for sure they were parents. But, you know, they were a man and a woman, roughly the same age, who seem to be acting like parents. Finally, when they get done, they throw down their sticks on the ground, and he picks up the stick and just looks at it, just as defeated. He's just defeated, just sobs and cries, and then finally he just throws it off too and kind of just gathers himself and forgets about it. And she comments about, like, what lesson was it that he learned right there? And what he definitely did not learn was an empathic lesson. He learned that big people get the breaks, little people are powerless, and when he has a little sibling come along, say, what do you suppose that his reaction's going to be? Do you think he's going to be the empathic big brother that's going to be, you know, super sensitive to the needs of the little one? Probably not. He's probably going to feel like, yay, it's my turn, you know, I get to be, and you're probably going to assume that's part of being little. You know, part of being little is being the one who just doesn't get it. You get to be the one who gets to be ignored. You're the one who gets to not get the benefits of, you know, because this is our self-absorbed world, our self-absorbed culture. So she talks about that. That's, you know, sort of how this narcissism thing spreads. There's one way that it spreads is by just a sort of there seemed to be a lack of empathy in those parents. They weren't overtly abusive parents. They weren't, but there was certainly a lack of empathy there. They were not super empathic parents. What should they have done? Well, you know, I can think of a few different things they could have done. You know, maybe take a few quick bites, make it a little bit smaller, and then give it to them. Or just not worry if it's, you know, if it's too cold or too big and they drop some of it or something, just not worry about it. Or, you know, who knows? There's a million things to do. But probably enjoying a popsicle in front of your 3-year-old child and not letting him have one and just listening to him cry and ignoring it while he cries, or even laughing at him while he cried, probably not the most empathic thing to do. Probably not what I would have done, but it's not an overtly abusive thing, but it is certainly something to pay attention to. So if you are a parent that's made mistakes, and that could always, it's never too late to change things around, and kids are going to be very forgiving. even adult kids.